Imagine a map of modern Europe. The Adriatic Sea. Between Croatia and Italy, there's a tiny dot that doesn't exist in our reality. The independent Free State of Fiume. A state founded in 1919 by the mad poet, pirate, and decadent Gabriele D'Annunzio. In our world, this utopia lasted only 16 months. But what if history had taken a different turn? What if, in December 1920, Italian battleships hadn't opened fire on D'Annunzio's palace? What if the League of Nations, weary of Balkan crises, had recognized this pirate enclave? What if the League of Nations, weary of Balkan crises, had recognized this pirate enclave? Today, Fiume wouldn't just be the Croatian city of Rijeka. It would be a European Macau, an offshore zone where everything is legalized and the Constitution officially proclaims music as the foundation of the state. Let's go back to September 12, 1919. A column of rebellious Italian soldiers in red cars enters the city. D'Annunzio seizes power without a single shot fired. In our reality, Italy soon signed the Treaty of Rapallo. But in this alternate timeline, Italian Prime Minister Giovanni Giolitti dies of a heart attack on the eve of its signing. Political chaos erupts in Rome. Socialists and fascists engage in street battles on Via Nazionale. Italy has absolutely no time for a tiny port on the Adriatic. D'Annunzio, with his brilliant intuition, takes advantage of the paralysis of power in Rome. He secretly sends a delegation to London, offering Winston Churchill to transform Fiume into a free port under the unspoken protectorate of the British Empire. The British, eager to weaken Italy's influence in the Balkans and gain a trading foothold, agree. On March 2, 1921, the Free State of Fiume receives international recognition. D'Annunzio declares himself Commandante for life. The city instantly transforms into a mecca for avant-gardists, exiled monarchs, international smugglers, and spies from all over Europe. Fiume's economy is built on brilliant madness. The Commandante abolishes corporate taxes, but introduces a boredom tax. Every citizen is obliged to participate in weekly carnivals. Piracy becomes the main source of income. Fiume's fast boats plunder merchant ships in the Adriatic, then legalize the cargo through its own central bank. By 1930, when Mussolini comes to power in Italy, the Duce is furious. He calls Fiume a festering sore on the body of the fascist empire and prepares a military invasion. But then the British fleet intervenes. A squadron of the Mediterranean fleet drops anchor in Kvarner Bay. Mussolini is forced to retreat, gritting his teeth. Fiume becomes untouchable. World War II begins. While Europe burns, Fiume declares absolute, heavily armed neutrality. The city transforms into a Balkan Casablanca. In the bars on the Corso Promenade, Gestapo agents drink Campari at neighboring tables with British intelligence officers, while Jewish refugees buy fake passports from Croatian smugglers. In 1944, the Allies plan carpet bombings of the region, but Winston Churchill personally strikes Fiume from the target lists. Why? Because it is through the offshore accounts of the Bank of Fiume that British intelligence finances Josip Broz Tito's Yugoslav partisans. The city-state becomes the main financial hub of the European resistance. 1945. The war is over. The Red Army and Yugoslav partisans occupy the Balkans. The Iron Curtain descends over Europe. Tito yearns to annex Fiume to Yugoslavia, massing tanks at its borders. But the USA, understanding the enclave's strategic value, includes it in the Marshall Plan and establishes a Sixth Fleet base there. Fiume becomes the West Berlin of the Adriatic. The wall separating the city from communist Yugoslavia grows barbed wire and machine gun towers. But this doesn't stop trade. The golden age of smuggling begins. Jeans, Beatles records, and Western electronics flow like a river through secret tunnels beneath the border. In the 70s, the government of Fiume takes an unprecedented step. They completely abolish income tax and legalize banking secrecy on a Swiss level. Billions of dollars from Italy, the Middle East, and even from the Soviet nomenclatura settle in ancient palazzos, converted into ultra-secure vaults. The collapse of Yugoslavia in the early 90s becomes the most serious test for the microstate. A brutal war rages around it. Croatia declares independence and demands the return of Rijeka. In response, Fiume mobilizes its tiny but elite army, armed with state-of-the-art technology thanks to endless offshore money. Croatian President Franjo Tuđman prepares an assault. But the day before the attack, global banks block all accounts of the Croatian government. Fiume's leadership makes a phone call to Zagreb and politely hints that if even a single shot is fired, Croatia will be left without a single cent to purchase weapons. The assault is called off. Instead of war, Fiume becomes the main beneficiary of the Balkan conflict. The city accepts thousands of refugees, but only those who can pay for a visa of salvation. Simultaneously, a colossal flow of illegal weapons for all sides of the conflict passes through Fiume's port. Blood and gold mix in the Commandante's vaults. The 21st century arrives. The Free State of Fiume today is 150,000 people across an area of 20 square kilometers. It's an architectural hybrid of Venice and cyberpunk Tokyo. The historic center, with its Habsburg palaces, is surrounded by a ring of gleaming glass skyscrapers housing the headquarters of cryptocurrency exchanges. In 2015, Fiume becomes the first in the world to recognize Bitcoin as official legal tender alongside its own Fiuman lira. This enrages the European Union, which imposes economic sanctions. But the microstate doesn't care. It is completely autonomous, powered by underwater geothermal stations, and has its own satellite internet. Fiume citizenship today costs exactly 5 million euros in investment. For this money, oligarchs, disgraced politicians, and tech billionaires receive a passport that doesn't surrender its citizens to Interpol or US tax authorities. Fiume is a black hole of the global economy, where trillions vanish without a trace. But the spirit of the mad poet D'Annunzio is still alive. According to the Constitution, every September the city closes its banks for a week. The festival of life begins, a grand carnival where billionaires and ordinary dock workers dance in the streets to electronic music, legal psychedelics, and volleys of fireworks. Fiume's politics are a masterpiece of diplomatic tightrope walking. The state officially belongs to neither the UN, NATO, nor the EU. Its security is guaranteed by private military companies whose contracts are strictly classified. Rumor has it that the city's perimeter is guarded by autonomous drones purchased on the black market. Relations with Croatia remain cold. Calls to return the historical lands of Rijeka regularly emanate from Zagreb. But each time tensions rise, Fiume simply increases tariffs on goods transiting through its ultra-modern deep-water port, and the Croatian economy rapidly begins to suffocate. What would daily life look like in such a place? Imagine You wake up in a penthouse overlooking the Adriatic. Your neighbor to the left is a Russian hacker on the run from justice. Your neighbor to the right is an Arab sheik. You go down for coffee, paying with an anonymous crypto card, and hear a mix of Italian, Croatian, and English in the street. Education in Fiume is also unique. Standard history is not taught in schools. Instead, children are taught cryptography, international law, and game theory from an early age. The state raises ideal cosmopolitans, ready to manage global financial flows and find loopholes in the laws of absolutely any country. And what about culture? Fiume is the capital of the global underground. It hosts exhibitions of art banned in other countries for censorship reasons. The city owns the world's largest library of data deleted from the internet. It's a digital ark of humanity, hidden in impregnable bunkers from World War II. The butterfly effect of Fiume's existence is colossal. Because of this offshore haven, Italy's economy lost trillions of euros, leading to a series of severe defaults in the 2010s. The Balkans, having a free trade zone for weapons right next door, experienced several more hidden conflicts that didn't even make it into the world media. But most importantly, Fiume proved that the concept of the classic nation-state is outdated. It is the first successful corporate state in history, a place where ideology is completely replaced by pragmatism, and patriotism is measured solely by the size of dividends. D'Annunzio's utopia mutated into a perfect, ruthless capitalist paradise. Look at this alternate reality once more. Just one politician's death in 1920, one unsigned agreement, and an anomaly appeared on the world map that forever rewrote the rules of the global economy. Fiume is a monument to human enterprise, audacity, and an absolute love for freedom. Who knows how many more Fiumes could have emerged from the ruins of collapsed empires? The free city of Danzig, the Lemko-Rusin Republic, independent Bavaria? History doesn't tolerate the subjunctive mood, but it is in these blind spots that the most exciting and frightening scenarios of our world are hidden. If you enjoyed this excursion into a world that never was, subscribe to the channel. Even crazier historical crossroads await us. Leave your suggestions in the comments. Which vanished microstate would you like to permanently bring back onto the political map of the world? This was the Alternate History Channel. Remember, our reality is just one of a billion possible